Hi there, this is H. Victoria Hargro Atkerson. I'm an author and a writer, and I love teaching um, writing to children. And one of the other things I do during the summer is teach Black history. And this is a really cool thing because children learn so much. And I love it when I hear from parents, and parents tell me that they are talking about Black history in their homes and at the breakfast table or at the dinner table. It just gives you a special kind of pride. It's really great, really cool. I enjoy doing that. But one of the things that in teaching Black history, we talk about the slave and how they had to make do with nothing and with scraps that they were given for their children and family. I love to cook, by the way. I love cooking, and I teach cooking also during the summer. And one day I was teaching a, the group of children how to prepare foods that the slaves would have prepared. And this particular day, my niece came to visit, and I had livers, chicken livers, which is really gross looking when you look at it because it's a bloody mess. And the kids were appropriately and expectantly shocked, disgusted, and horrified by the sight of the chicken livers, the raw chicken livers in the bowl. But then I tell them, this is what soul food is all about. We take these scraps, these throwaways, and all kinds of nonsensical things that we were expected to eat, and we turn it into something wonderful. So I put the chicken livers in a marinade sauce and marinated them, and the bloody colors subsided, and they were like, oh, okay, but they're still nasty looking or whatever. But we went through the process. I seasoned them, and they helped with the process also. After they were done, we fried them, so they were nice and, delicious. One of the kids tasted the chicken liver and said, oh, Miss Harriet, I want to be a slave. And I was like, no, baby, no, you don't want to be a slave. You never want to do that. He said, yes, I do. They ate so well. It was so delicious. And I was like, no, no, no. So in teaching, sometimes we don't get that concept over to the kids, but all he could tune into was how wonderful the chicken livers tasted because they never had chicken livers before. Interesting things that time changes, because as a child growing up, that was one of our main dishes, chicken livers and rice, all kinds of spare parts, I call it, of the chicken. My sister tells this story. I think you saw her in a video, the bossy one. She tells this story about when she got married, she never knew that a chicken had a chicken breast. And because when we were growing up, my mother had a large family, had 9 kids. So we ate chicken wings, chicken backs, chicken necks, chicken livers, chicken whatever, but never the breast, and very rarely the chicken thigh, just the leg part, and maybe even the chicken feet, but we never had chicken breast. So my sister was so thrilled when she discovered that when she married and was out of the house. My father always got the better parts of the chicken, so that was the way it was when I was being raised in Atlanta, Georgia. That's during the early 50s. And the early 50s, 40s and 50s. Tell you how old I am, oh woman. But I think all that graciousness that we learn in cooking our food make us special, because we learn to do things that were necessary to make our families happy during these very deprived times. And that's one of the things I like about studying our history, because it's so dramatic, and it's encouraging to know that these people were in their brilliance. They had ideas. They never gave up. You gave me scraps to feed my children, but I make those scraps taste like a delicacy. I really like that. So when we talk about slavery to young children, we try to transmit the idea of the versatility and the stability and the determination of the black family and how they made it no matter what difficulties they expressed. And today we talked about being on a slave ship and just describing what that experience was like to those kids was very interesting. And I think um, it was really cool. I think maybe tomorrow I'll try to read you some of the. I have a few stories that I would like to read to you that one of the kids wrote, which I think was really cool. So I just want, before I go though, I almost forgot to do my sales pitch here. This is my latest book. This is Enslaved. Gorgeous picture was done by my brother Louis Hargro, and it's a good read. It really is good. You'll love it. Um, One of the things I would love to do is to get into the details of some of the things that the slaves had to endure. And I do that by reading a lot of slave narratives. They are so eye-opening, and they give you so much of that background information you need to bring your characters to life. It is such a wonderful process, writing is, and demonstrating that to children today, it just gave me a real big thrill. And just explaining what that experience was like, and it was just another eye-opening experience, which I love to do. Now, also I will have on sale next weekend at the Harlem Book Fair in New York City. Would be the first novel that I published, which is Stones Along the Path. We have part 2 and part 1, and sometime this year, hopefully we'll have out part 3. I do have to get busy writing because I spend a lot of time with children during the summer. I don't always have the time to do anything else but come home and rest from being tortured to death, because I spend a great deal of time working with the children, and this summer has been a challenge. And another book which is really great that people seem to enjoy is The Buttermilk Bottom, which was a neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, and one of the first places that blacks lived in after the Civil War. And it was in continuous occupation until it was torn down and the Atlanta Civic Center was built in its place. So, but we always want to remember places like this because that's a part of our history and the struggle we had to live through in order to become good citizens and to be able to vote and participate in our government, which we were not able to do back then under segregation. So this book is about the segregated South and the coping skills that blacks had to use in order to live and to live with pride. The other book also takes place in Atlanta. This is Walking Among the Kudzu. It's about an adolescent who looks white, and she gets a lot of flack from her family, and she has a lot of difficulties in school because of her complexion. But she's definitely a black child, and you'll discover that when you read the book. So come to the Harlem Book Festival and meet me. It should be a great experience. It's great to have the whole village out embracing books. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and my hat's off to Max Rodriguez. He usually does a fantastic job of organizing everything, and it takes a great skill to do that. And I'm so appreciative to him and to his organization for doing such a marvelous job. And by the way, Max, thanks for taking me at the last minute, because I didn't think I would be able to make it. My husband, the Martian, did I tell you? I married a Martian. Anyway, he's been ill. The Martian has been ill. And in trying to get my life in order, I've been working hard to get him back on his feet. And I didn't think I would be able to make the book fair this year, but I can. And I sent a note to Max and his staff, and they were like, sure, come on, they sent me my confirmation right away. So I was like, yay, I can go. So it's really great. So my niece Brandy and I and my nephew Larry And also probably my granddaughter, Nikia, will be there with me. So it should be an interesting day. I may have some of the great-grandchildren too. Am I telling my age? I don't mind because I think I do well. But I lived it, and you can find out how well I lived it by reading my books, okay? Now, before you go, please subscribe to my channel. It's free, and all it does is tell you when I post a video. So you can be one of the first to see it and enjoy it. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, and before you go, do me a favor and like this video, okay? Now, do another great thing for me, which I always like to end with because I think it's so important. I keep repeating it because I think it's one of the main things we have to focus on instead of some of the other things that are going on in our lives today, such as the political system, the tragedies that's happened in the black community with us losing our darling children, which is something we will have to try to rectify. So, but that thing is to love someone special, and most of all, love to you. God bless.